Hello, everyone, and welcome back to One-on-One, New York's longest-running sports call-in show. I'm Thomas Aiello. As Miles promised, Headlines is here. Miles is still here. Sam is still here. I like the music. I feel like we're
great music.
Getting ready for
great
to
music.
film.
I was boogieing down here. I mean,
Lou
shout
Orlando,
out Lou Orlando.
Lou Orlando,
Great
look,
music.
he's going like, what's up? Like, yeah, we know you're
Great
back
music,
there
great
DJing.
music.
I'm getting ready to film my 70s music video. That's how I feel right now. But there's NBA free agency. It refuses to let up. Mm-hmm. And we have to start with the New York Knicks signing Jalen Brunson to a 4-year, $104 million contract, player option in that final season. The Knicks finally get their point guard that they've been searching for since probably Stephon Marbury. Coming over, Brunson is from the Dallas Mavericks, a product of Villanova. I'm sure that former Fordham coach Kyle Neptune has some positive thoughts on Mr. Brunson, but this is a move that was in the works for, I would say, a month and a half. The Knicks hired his dad, Rick Brunson, to be on the coaching staff, and Jalen is, of course, a family friend and a former client, I believe, of CAA for Leon Rose. So Leon pulling Rich Paul and bringing all of his children, if you will, to the Knicks. Sam, I'm going to start with you here. How do you see this move for the Knicks? Do you see this as a needle mover, or is this just keeping them in the same spot?
Yeah, I mean, like you mentioned, this move has been brewing for a while, so it had to be done. I mean, as soon as, especially draft night, as soon as everything that went on with that, of course, clearing the cap space, unloading Kemba, just quite the night for the New York Knicks that you knew this move was coming. And for that, in that perspective, it's a success they got it done. Because they had to get it done, and they did get it done. And now it's really up to Jalen Brunson. I mean, we've seen the success that he's had in the playoffs. We've seen, how good he's been at times. That's playing with Luka Doncic, though, and that will be, there's no Luka on the New York Knicks, so things will be a little bit different for Jalen in terms of in New York. But I think I got to say I understand the concern that the Knicks fans have. Obviously, like I mentioned, without Doncic, and then also the fact that it's a lot. They did give up quite a lot in terms of obviously everything that they did in the draft in order to get Brunson. So I think you're really just betting on Jalen Brunson as a player. I mean, you really are betting on what he's going to be for the New York Knicks. Obviously, he's got the connection, so it made sense to have him here. But that doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be that guy. I mean, he still has to go out and perform. So I think ultimately that is when you judge the success or lack thereof with this move, is how Jalen Brunson plays. But it certainly was a lot to give up for Brunson. That's my take on it.
I really don't love this move.
Oh my God!
Knicks,
Wow.
to be
Okay.
honest. No, because when you think about it, we saw the flashes of greatness from Brunson against the Warriors in the playoffs. We surely did, and that's just not enough for me to say that he's in that superstar point guard
It's
category.
a very
gray area.
It's just like what happened for you late. Like it just happened. It's very. I'm trying to think of the word, but they're
recency bias.
Yeah,
there you go. That's it.
Thank you, Miles.
No, because I
without
love
him?
Brunson. I love Brunson, but I don't think that he's the guy that makes the difference in New York for the Knicks. The starting point guard that's supposed to be your superstar. I don't see him in that category at all.
No, he's not supposed to be. That's not his expectation.
But what you're giving up for
starting
him,
point guard with giving up all that for a starting point guard, you expect him to be a borderline superstar for this team. And Jalen Brunson was a superstar for a series. Is he a superstar for 82 games? I don't think so.
Okay, I'm going to kind of push back. First of all, the trades that the Knicks made have indirect correlation with this move. Kemba Walker just wasn't playing. And as much as I love him, Rice High School, UConn, Cardiac Kemba, the whole thing, Jim Calhoun.
It was unfortunate because it seemed like it was going to work.
It was going to.
It just seemed like he was that guy.
His arthritic knee was really starting to catch up to him. He just didn't have the same first step that he's had.
He had to go.
He just had to. And Alec Burks, he was good for that 1 year where they made the playoffs by way of miracles and whatnot. He could not play point guard. He just didn't fit in that system. It was a logjam at the wing position for them because you have guys like Emmanuel Quickley, Quentin Grimes in the pipeline waiting to get their chance. Miles McBride. I guess we can. I don't know. Well, Barrett's safe. I guess we can throw now. Trevor Keels would have maybe even gotten screwed over by that. And Nerlens Noel just, again, also not healthy. He was healthy that 1 year, hasn't been healthy since.
The year they made the playoffs.
Yeah, the 1 year
ago.
that they made the playoffs, and he hasn't been healthy since.
Yeah.
They got off of that money. I think the next move for post-Brunson is probably Fournier. It just has to be by logic because they don't think a defensive backcourt of him and Brunson, Fournier that is going to work. And Fournier's already not a good defender. He's not a good defender because he's not tall. I mean, he's a big guard in a way, but he's just not tall. So it may not work. Cam Reddish is also on the block. There's a lot of things that they did last summer that haven't worked out, and not all of these are immovable contracts too. I mean, Fournier is probably the only one, and maybe Randall, but you can move $7 million Burks. You can get rid of Kemba Walker.
Well, here's my question.
Yeah.
Maybe this is better for you, Thomas, but for you, Miles, as well, both of you guys. What's the expectation for the next year? I mean, what is the expectation? I mean, playoffs 2 years ago, obviously last year, very disappointing. This team certainly can make the playoffs.
They should be able to.
They have Jalen Brunson in addition to the guys they had last year. I mean, you have Randall and you have Barrett, of course. So is that, especially with the play-in, like you mentioned, I mean, that is, I think, totally reasonable. But what is the end goal here? What is the, obviously, where are they going from here? That's, I guess.
Can I go first? I think they're setting up for a star player trade signing. They have to be. Because they've got 11.
Not this year.
No, not this year.
Yeah,
no, not this year.
Yeah,
Someone's gonna.
But they also have.
Oh my God.
Miles,
are you okay?
Miles breaking things over here.
You're gonna have to hold it now.
Yeah, that's wild.
Oh my God.
Playing with it too much.
But now RJ Barrett is in the final year of
he's gonna
his
have
deal,
to get
correct?
paid. Yes,
so that is going to take up.
They just
a good
gave
amount of
Robinson
money.
his money.
Yes, Robinson.
Who else is? I mean,
because Robinson played career high 72 games last year,
and he was pretty good last year.
Yeah, and a good defender too. I mean, that was a good move, I think. And Barrett will be next, I'm sure. But,
Barrett's next. They're getting ready for someone to call for a jailbreak at their franchise.
And I think you have to expect Randall plays better this year.
I mean, he has to.
A similar form to 2021
in a way.
2 years ago.
If he's a little more enthusiastic, I have reason to believe he was playing hurt this year. I think that could have been part of it. That hasn't come out, and this is me again speculating. So don't take this with a grain of salt.
Yes.
I think he was playing hurt because he usually last year and under Tom Thibodeau, you're expected to give your all in every game.
Body language wasn't great.
Body language was terrible. I just think he was hurt.
Well, I think part of that too is mentally just coming off
the year he had
a rough playoffs. And before that a great season.
Yeah.
Heading into the all of that kind of mixed together to some mental struggles. I think.
I don't
for
think
Randall,
he handled
maybe at the start of the year.
I'm not sure he handled being the guy.
Yeah.
He really couldn't handle it.
Well, he's not, though. He's not. He's a great player, and I think he's an important part of this group, especially going into this coming season where I think, like I said,
he has to
they can make
back.
the playoffs, and a lot of it depends on Randall, and I think Randall and Brunson, are the biggest things.
To me, if Brunson is the biggest move of the offseason for the Knicks,
it is probably.
It probably is, yeah.
Then this team is going to plateau this year. I don't see any sort of improvement going on besides maybe.
You don't see an improvement from last year.
Very slight.
Well, they also screwed it up.
It'd be the cap of all caps at that play-in game. I can't see this team making an impact in the East right off the bat. If Jalen Brunson is the only
I think
difference.
I could see him in a first round.
If you get to the play-in, you win the first portion of that, and you're like the 7th seed. Like that's a success for them.
I don't see them getting a win in the play-in if they make it there.
No, and I do think again. I'll go back to this. They definitely screwed it up because they've just signed all of these people that really were not. I think it screwed up development of people that should have been
lack of alignment between the head coach
and Derrick Rose wasn't healthy. That doesn't help any. Like he was so important for them that playoff year.
Yes, he was.
And he just not playing. They really do miss.
But
really
Thibodeau and front office haven't been on the same page all year. You saw that with Reddish. Why grab a player like Reddish?
Some of it's Leon Rose. I'm the agent thing. That he is doing that. I wasn't really sure what he was doing at first. I do think he's too smart for his own good. That's not a good thing. But again, Leon Rose is better at management than anyone that they've had in the last 23 years now. He's definitely more organized. There's clearly a direction. There is a culture. I think, again, all of these veterans.
Yeah, I mean, we've went from a couple. I mean, in our time at FUV here, we've gone from the Knicks are terrible and
to good, and now they're going to
but I mean, like we've had the conversations of how terrible they are.
Yeah,
just
I expect,
where's the direction, what's going on. Obviously, things have greatly improved in that front because
I expect
now you have
them
an
to
idea.
Win 41 games.
Yeah,
do that, and
you have an idea of where they're going. You have an idea of kind of their perspective going forward, and I think the playoffs are totally reasonable.
I think just win 41 games, go 500. I don't really
happily surprised with the
you would
Knicks
be
playoff
happily
spot.
surprised.